Hey, welcome back to our part 2 of myths about marriage. Last week we tackled 7 myths about marriage, and hopefully those were common sense to you and not new revelation. But if they were, good. Maybe if you're dating, you can make sure you don't step into a mistake. And if you're already married, you can just look in the mirror and kick yourself for not knowing those things. But here you are, so keep working at it. So this week, we're going to talk 6 more myths we believe about marriage. And again, this is a celebration of our 27th anniversary, which we celebrated over the weekend. And we are here with 6 more myths that we believe about marriage. Let's get to it. Hey, welcome to Relation Shots. My name's Eric Wooten. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome to the place to get practical relationship advice that actually works in your relationship. If you want a free guide to intimacy, hit the link in the description area below. If you want a community of other like-minded couples to work on your marriage, consider checking out our Altered Marriage membership. You can see all the details for that in the description area below as well. So, last week we talked about 7 myths about marriage, and this week we're going to tackle another 6 myths about marriage so that we can make sure that we're not walking into marriage clueless, thinking something's going to happen that isn't really going to happen. So myth number 1 this week we're going to talk about is don't go to bed angry. And if you've been in church, then you've probably heard people tell you that, right? And there's a Bible verse in Ephesians chapter 4 that says that, in your anger, do not sin. It says, do not go to bed angry. Don't let the devil get a foothold. And so people say, listen, if you go to bed angry, the devil's going to come in and get a foothold and screw things up. So we got to distinguish between a good principle and like this concrete, no wiggle room, absolutely every time. And here's the reality. If you're arguing about something and it's 11 p.m. at night and you're both frustrated and tired, the likelihood that you're going to have a successful resolution to this before you go to bed is probably not likely. And I've known couples that literally took this verse, literally verbatim, and would not go to bed and had conflicts that would go till 3 in the morning, and they'd get more and more frustrated and it caused more problems. So listen, sometimes the best thing is, you know what? We haven't resolved it. We're both getting a little heated. We're both tired. Why don't we go to bed and we can have a discussion about this tomorrow? Now, I would agree with the principle, don't just go to bed and never deal with it again, kind of brushing it under the rug. But there are times when it makes sense to go sleep on it. Oftentimes, before you have a conflict and you want to have a conflict, sleep on it and see if it matters tomorrow and have a new discussion about it. So don't go to bed angry, I would say, is a myth in marriage. Another myth would be your spouse has to be your best friend. You've heard lots of couples, oh, my spouse, who's your best friend? My spouse. My spouse is my best friend. Hanging out with my best friend again, on vacation with my best friend again. And you know what? If your spouse is your best friend, that's awesome. I love my spouse. She's a great friend. I really enjoy spending time with her. I'd probably choose her over anybody else if I got a choice to spend time with somebody. But listen, your spouse does not have to be your best friend. I do think it's important for them to be one of your top friends, and I've done a couple videos on this. It is important to have a good friendship in marriage. That's a key to marriage. But for them to be your best friend, there's some people that just don't have a ton in common as far as interests and hanging out and recreational activities with their spouse. And so they have lots of other friends that they do some of those things with. I think that's healthy. Same-sex friends, not opposite-sex friends. That's a whole nother video as well. But I don't think your spouse has to be your best friend. I do think it's important that they be a good friend. Another myth would be that children are going to make your marriage better. See, I did a whole video on top 3 marriage killers, and guess what made the top 3 marriage killers? Children was on there. Children are a blessing, children are fantastic, but children are also relationship killers because they'll take your time, they'll take your energy, they require your ultimate focus, they'll be divisive when they get old enough to come ask you after they'd asked the other spouse and the other spouse said no, so they're going to sneak and see if they can get you. They're going to let you down, they're going to lie to you, they're going to disappoint you. They're going to cause tension in your relationship. And a lot of couples I know are not on the same page as far as parenting styles, so it becomes even tougher when they're having to discipline and deal with children who are difficult to deal with. So if you think having a kid is just going to cause your unhealthy marriage to just come together, It can do that in little spurts because now we have something to unify on, but a lot of those couples are the same ones that as soon as the last kid leaves the house, they divorce because they didn't have a relationship outside their kids. So your kids by themselves are not just all of a sudden gonna make your marriage a whole lot stronger. That's a myth. Another myth is that healthy couples always want to do stuff together, right? You see these couples, they're out, they're posting their pictures. Seems like all they ever do is stuff together and nothing independent of each other. That does not mean that they're healthy. Some of those couples are actually unhealthy. They're codependent and they can't be without each other, and that's why they're always together. I'm not saying that's all of them, but healthy couples actually do stuff not with each other. So when you look at relationships, there's codependent, there's independent, and then in the middle somewhere is interdependent. That's healthy. Where we're not codependent, we have to be with each other, we can't be apart from each other, we have to be needed by each other. And independent is we don't really do anything together and we kind of live separate lives. That's not healthy. Interdependent is we love spending time together, we're dependent on one another, but we also have some independence. We also have some individuality in our life outside of just the marriage. The marriage should not be our purpose, identity, significance, security. We should have some of that in and of ourselves, so that a healthy relationship does not mean that you always do stuff together and you never want to do anything outside of one another. That's not healthy. That's actually a myth. Another myth is that you should be able to resolve all of your conflicts. If you're a healthy couple, you should always resolve all of your conflicts. Well, newsflash, some issues in marriage are unresolvable. Our personality differences, we'll never resolve. Some of our likes and preferences will never fully resolve. So marriage is not about always resolving every conflict. It's about resolving the resolvable conflicts when we can. That's healthy. And then it's about managing our other conflicts so they don't continue to trip us up as often, or maybe even eliminate if possible. And we want to minimize the damage that our conflicts cause in a relationship based on how we respond and act to one another. And so you're not going to be able to resolve every issue. It's okay. You should try to. And many can be, but there's also a set that will be unresolvable. And you don't want to frustrate yourself going, something's wrong with us because we can't resolve every issue. That's a myth. That's not true. And the final myth is that your spouse should complete you. And this we get from all the movies. You make me want to be a better man. You complete me. All that kind of stuff. Listen, you should be complete without your spouse. Your spouse should complement you. And it should make the relationship complete when there's two people in it. But they should not complete you. Because when you start using your spouse for completion, then when they're not meeting you in those areas where you need completion, you're going to feel very frustrated and hurt and angry at your spouse because they're not completing you the way you think you need to be completed. We need to be healthy as an individual. You need to be a healthy single. You need to be a content single. You need to be a complete single. And then you're ready to marry somebody, and they should be a complement to you. And we've talked about all the reasons why: shared values and being on the same page in different areas and similar goals and all those kind of things. But they should not complete you. That's a myth. They should complement you. You should be complete by yourself. So there's 6 more myths. If you didn't see last week's, go back and check it out. Those were the first 7 myths. That's 13 myths that we believe about marriage that actually set us up for frustration and failure. Love to hear your thoughts about these and any other myths that maybe you believed or you know friends believe, so we can have a discussion about that in the comment section below. And again, if we can help you in your relationship, check out the description area for all kinds of resources that will help you grow and thrive in your relationships. And until next time, I'll see you right back here on Relation Shots.